أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. We have been discussing the topic of unity and diversity in Islamic history. So continuing with the same topic, we say that before we get to the actual topic which we want to discuss, and that is the topic of cooperation between Shias and Sunnis in Islamic history, we need to discuss some of the introductory discussions. So we have already done 3 introductory discussions. This is our 4th introductory discussion. This topic might take 2 or 3 sessions, inshallah, if not more. I just feel that some of the things need to be mentioned. That's why I'm speaking everything, and it's taking time. So my apologies that sometimes the lectures are long, but I believe that some things need to be said and clarified. If not, then some things will not be understood the way we want it to be understood. So introductory discussion number 4 today, we are going to discuss a topic which is a bit sensitive, and I'll mention why it's sensitive. The topic we want to discuss today and the 2 subsequent discussions is about the conflicts, quarrels, disunity between Shias in history and between Sunnis in history. Yeah. So today, inshallah, we start with the conflicts which happened, the disunity which happened in the Sunni world. And then we, inshallah, subsequently we come and discuss the Shia world, inshallah, also. Now, as I mentioned, this topic is sensitive. The sensitivity comes because this issue is not been discussed very much publicly. Now, as you're aware that a lot of scholars are skeptical about bringing everything what is in the books to the public. And sometimes, yes, they are right also that not everything needs to be brought to public because some are really technical discussions. But what's happening at the moment is that we are not seeing this criteria being observed, that it's because it's technical, that's why we don't want to take it to public. Rather, what you see is every group, and this you will see it with every sect and every group. Whatever is against them, they would not like it to be mentioned in the public. Okay, so this topic by itself needs to be discussed, and it's a topic which needs to be deliberated upon by scholars. And scholars here, I mean, from different strands of Islam, who come together, sit down together, and say that, okay, what should be allowed to discuss in the public, why, when, what, all these should be discussed, especially in the time where we are living in an information age. Rather, we're living at a time where the AI is at our fingertips. Wallahi, this tool is, you ask one question, it can write your whole essay on it. Now, we're living at such times. Is it possible to hide information from the public? This is a question we need to ask ourselves. And how much can we hide? What can we hide? Okay, these are the discussions which need to be discussed by the scholars, but unfortunately, no one is ready to sit down and discuss. These are the undiscussables, if I can put it that way. So, because this issue is not being discussed publicly, and that's where the sensitivity comes in. So then I give a disclaimer also. This on onset, I want to give a disclaimer that those people who cannot think out of the box, who are not ready for further research, who are not ready to listen to uncomfortable truths, I advise them not to listen to these 2, 3 lectures we are going to deliver, because we're going to speak uncomfortable truths, things which are filled in the books. As you will see, we'll give examples and references only. We'll not add anything from ourselves. But these are uncomfortable truths which have happened in our history, which needs to be discussed. So those who are not ready for it, please don't listen to these lectures. So somebody might ask then, if it's sensitive, if scholars have not discussed it a lot in public, then why are you discussing it? Okay. So here I would like to mention around 3 reasons, the 3 primary reasons I'm having. One, and the additional 2, one I've already mentioned in the past in the previous lecture, and one will come as we discuss this same lecture maybe next week, inshallah. Yeah. But the 3 primary reasons which I want to discuss for now, and that is what's making me think that this is a topic which should be discussed publicly. Okay. So reason number 1, and I would like us to please listen to these issues very carefully. They're sensitive, so they require a bit of more attention to be able to follow up on what we are trying to achieve. Okay. Reason number 1, the picture we have been given all this time by Sunni speakers, by Sunni scholars, by Shia scholars, by Shia speakers, is that Sunnism, Shiism has always been uniform and monolith. Okay? There have never been differences. If there have been differences, there have been fiqhi and jurisprudential differences. And that is why you will see a lot of books which discuss the differences within the Muslim Ummah. They will straight away turn back to the jurisprudential and the fiqhi differences. They will never point to the theological differences the Muslim Ummah has had. They will never turn to the historical differences. Yes, historical differences sometimes are mentioned in polemical debates, but academically, we don't mention what happened in within our madhab. We will always say, oh, a Shia will always say what happened in Sunnism, and a Sunni will always say what happened in Shiism, but we will never say what happened in within our own history. Yeah. So the first reason I'm trying to achieve is this, to show that no, we have had big time differences, and I will show the differences led to each other doing takfir of each other, to the level of, bad mouthing each other, to the level of, oof, all what you can think of has happened in history. And we'll give examples. Okay? So once you understand this is where you understand that Sunnism has always been diverse. There's no single Sunnism, and there's no monolith and uniform Shiism. So from this point, there are 2 points I want to deduce and take conclusion from. So one is that you will notice the Sunnis and Shia scholars keep on repeating now and again that, oh, anybody they disagree with, they will keep on clearly say that this person is not following mainstream Sunnism, is not following mainstream Shiism. The conclusion I want to take from this, after the examples I give you, and I want to mention this, that I'm just giving you a snapshot. Wallahi, if we can dedicate series for these differences, it'll not be enough. Okay? Books are filled with examples of differences and fights which happened in history, in within a sect. I'm not talking about cross sect, okay? I'm talking of within a sect, within Sunnism, within Shiism. Okay, so once you understand this, then you understand that Sunnism has always been diverse. Shiism has always been diverse. So anybody claiming to have a different opinion today is not turning away from mainstream Sunnism or turning away from mainstream Shiism. Okay? This is point number one. Point number two, again related to the same issue of mainstream. There are some who will come and tell you that, oh, join mainstream Shiism, join mainstream Sunnism. When we understand this, again, it's related to point A. Yeah? When you understand this, then you understand that which Sunnism are we talking about? Okay? The current Sunnism or Sunnism throughout history, which was never uniform, which was never monolith, or never, even within Shiism also, the same issue. Point number B. Point number C. This is where I would like to talk to my Shia brothers and sisters, that it's time now for us to sit down and revisit the whole notion of taqiyya. Okay, taqiyya, yes, it's accepted in the Quran and the Sunnah, and the Sunnis and the Shias accept the taqiyya, which when you have a danger, you run away from a danger, yes, you can do taqiyya. Or there's a higher reality which you want to reach to, then you sacrifice for a while the lower reality for the sake of the higher reality. Those are issues of taqiyya. Would you call it taqiyya, no taqiyya, whatever we want to call it, but these are issues which are accepted. The taqiyya notion, some are trying to propose, and I'm being very clear, some are trying to propose, not all Shia scholars accept this view, okay? But there are a number of Shia scholars who accept this view that the Imams used to speak against, sometimes while doing taqiyya, would speak opposite to what the Sunnis would believe. So the word used is mukhalif al-amma, yeah? They would speak against what the amma and what the Sunnis used to believe in. So my question then comes in is here that which Sunnism are we talking about? As we will go further, there's no one single strand of Sunnism. If we will notice that one group keeps on condemning the other group, doing takfir of each other. Now, which Sunni group is the Imam speaking against? Okay, and that is why some are proposing that only places taqiyya happened where it was in conflict with the governmental understanding. Okay, so if the governmental understanding is this, then yes, taqiyya makes sense because you are trying to protect yourself physically because it will harm you. So you hide the truth for a while, not speak the opposite, okay? Speaking the opposite is another thing. You hide the truth for a while until then when the time comes when you are allowed to speak the truth. That is where, yes, if they force you with the gun, they force you with their power, then you end up speaking something opposite. But when you're free, okay, now this is what is being portrayed at times, that when people are free and they still spoke opposite to what was the reality. What I'm trying to say is it's time to revisit this notion of taqiyya. And the reason is because there's no single strand of Sunnism who now you say that Imams were speaking against that strand. And this was the common strand. No, there was no common strand as one single strand. Okay? This was point number one. So point number one is to show that there is no monolith Shiism or no monolith and uniform Sunnism. Reason number two, why do I raise this topic and why do I discuss this issue? It's because we are going to show the effects and dangers of this disunity which happened in history. Okay? Now, it went to a level that people started fabricating hadith. Okay? One group fabricated hadith against the other, and the other group fabricated hadith against the other. They were praising each other. Fabrications were happening on those levels also. The issue is here that we are still suffering from that today. Okay, one of the biggest issues we have in the world of hadith is contradictory narrations. If you go in Rijal, you will get contradictory narrations. So one person says this Rawi is thiqa, one says he's not thiqa. One of the biggest reasons was what? These personal conflicts which were there in history. Okay? So once you understand this diversity, once you understand that there was a feud and there was conflicts in history, then you understand hadith and rijal very differently from what we are understanding today. Okay? And number three, this is also very important. I don't know if I can dare say this, that 50 to 60% of the conflicts which happened in history were because of methodology. And that is why in the Western academia today, we're discussing the importance of methodology. And personally, I've reached to this conclusion that whenever we want to discuss, we want to, God forbid, debate for the sake of debating also. If we want to have a dialogue, the first thing we need to do is first specify and clarify our methodology. And this is what I do these days. Whenever I want to discuss with somebody, I first tell that person that let's discuss your methodology, and I will clarify my methodology. Once it's clear that we have some common understanding, even in regards to methodology, then yes, we can discuss. Otherwise, what would happen is we keep on discussing for the sake of discussing only. And that is what we are seeing today in the world of debates. People discuss, just badmouth each other. Okay? So, once you understand that the methodology is different, then you want to find commonalities. Okay? To give you briefly a snapshot of what happened, and then we come to the slides. Notice in the early second century, so we are not discussing the first century. When we will discuss Shiism or Sunnism, we're not going to discuss the conflicts starting from the early first century. The early first century, yes, was ugly. There were fights to the level of killing each other, but those fights were based on political issues. Who should be the leader and who should not be the leader, and who should we choose and who should we not choose. From the second century onwards now, this is where theological and fiqhi debates come in. Okay, so we're going to start from the second century. You notice in the second century, Ahlul Hadith, the traditionalists, the scripturalists, whatever you want to call them, they take over. The way they condemn the rationalists. Now, at the head of the rationalists, you have Imam Abu Hanifa, okay, giving the Sunni example. You have Imam Abu Hanifa, and we will see the examples. Wallahi, the way they have condemned and criticized Abu Hanifa, it's strange the way they have done it, okay? Notice, why the difference? Because of the methodology. One is a scripturalist who reads hadith literally, and one says, no, I need to look at it from a rationalist perspective. Once this period finishes, the rationalists take over. Okay? The rationalists take over, and this is where the Mu'tazilites now come in, and the Hanafis take over. Look at the whole period of Mihna and Inquisition. This is a whole topic by itself of what happened. Sunnis and Sunnis started torturing each other because of the differences and theological differences they had with each other. Finish the period of the Mu'tazilites and the rationalists, come the Ash'aris now. Okay? So Al-Ash'ari himself was a Mu'tazilite first, then he converts to Ash'arism, and then he writes an attack on the Mu'tazilites. Okay? Now, you look at how they attack the Mu'tazilites. Till date, you will see that if you ask any Sunni, is a Jahmi, is a Mu'tazili, a Sunni, they will tell you no, they are not Sunnis. Okay, they take them out of Sunnah altogether. Okay, this is how it went on. Now, let me share the slides with you, and then we give examples from evidences. Okay, that's example. So that's our topic, we said, yeah? So notice what I have named it as. I said, what happens if we don't have commonalities and common methodology? And this is where I'm trying to reach to. That if Sunnis and Sunnis don't have commonalities, they end up fighting. When they don't have a common methodology, they end up fighting also. We said today we're discussing the Sunni world, okay? Uh, the example I would like to give is from the book of Christopher Mulkert. I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. I'm weak at uh, pronouncing names and places. You'll forgive me for that. He's an interesting book on the formation of the Sunni schools of law. He discusses the evolution of these schools. Notice what he says. There was a conscious enmity between traditionalists and adherents of a ra'i. Okay? There was enmity between Ahlul Hadith and Ashabul Ra'i, and these are the rationalists or the followers of Abu Hanifa and the followers. Now, I don't want to, at the moment, discuss Abu Hanifa's rationalism was right or wrong. That's not our discussion for the time being. What we're just trying to say is show this enmity which happened in history. So he says that we take Sufyan al-Thawri to be from the traditionalists, the Ahlul Hadith, and Abu Hanifa to be the head of, can you see this? Abu Hanifa to be the head of Ashab al-Ra'i, the Ahlul Ra'i, who they used to call the rationalists. So Malkert says that it's very clear the distinction between them was this, that Sufyan al-Thawri was more inclined towards collecting hadith. They say that he collected 1,100 hadith. But Abu Hanifa was not interested. He collected very few hadith. Why? Because he was more of a person who used to believe in thinking with rationalism or ra'i, whatever we want to call it for the time being. Now look at the result. So on page number 7, Malkert says that biographical literature often quotes Sufyan al-Thawri condemning Abu Hanifa. These are two Sunnis condemning each other. Okay, this is the reality we have gone through in history. Now he mentions a story. He says that once Sufyan al-Thawri was asked a hadith which was quoted by Abu Hanifa about female apostate. Okay, so Abu Hanifa quoted a hadith about a female apostate. So he was asked, as for hearing that hadith report from a trustworthy narrator and transmitter, no. Okay, that means he did not even consider Abu Hanifa to be a trustworthy narrator. Trustworthiness, leave alone other things, his scholarship and all other things. No, his being thiqa was questioned. No, it goes further. He used to, Sufyan is often quoted as saying that neither Abu Hanifa was trustworthy nor reliable, ma'mun. He was not reliable, he was not thiqa. And that is why Sufyan al-Thawri is quoted to have said that, he's reported to have said that he made sure that Abu Hanifa repents twice. Okay, he made Abu Hanifa do tawbah twice. For what? Believing that the Quran was created. Now, for those of you who are following up on this Quran created and creation of Quran and not created, it was a big issue which the Sunnis suffered in the early medieval and classical period. Okay? Now, it doesn't stop there. He says that there has not been anyone born more harmful to Islam than Abu Hanifa. This is a Sunni speaking about a Sunni. These are uncomfortable truths a Sunni would not like to hear. Okay, but these are the truths which happened in history. This is one example. So we're talking about Imam Abu Hanifa still. This is Imam al-Bukhari in his Tarikh al-Kabir. So if you read Dr. Jonathan Brown in his book, The Canonization of Bukhari and Muslim, uh, he mentions a lot of these troubles in regards to Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim. Wallahi, if you see the troubles he has mentioned and the issues he has mentioned there, a person just feels that which Sunnism are we talking about? Yeah. So one of the issues he discusses is this: was Sahih al-Bukhari at that time, was it accepted as a canon the way it's accepted today? Yeah, one of the pillars and the canons of Sunnism today. Was Sahih Bukhari really a pillar at that time in the 4th century, or no? It wasn't accepted the way it's accepted today by the Sunnis. Very clearly, as we will go further, we will show this example that Imam al-Bukhari was not accepted at that time. The only book which was accepted by Imam al-Bukhari was Tarikh al-Kabir, by the Muhaddithin and by the Ahlul Hadith. Okay? So in this Tarikh al-Kabir, Bukhari says that, again, from Sufyan al-Thawri. Notice, the source is Sufyan al-Thawri. Shows you that issues they had between each other. Look at, it goes very far. Huh? أبلغ أبا Hanifa. Convey to Abu Hanifa. This is Sufyan saying. Convey to Abu Hanifa al-mushrik, a polytheist. Allah, you feel ashamed at times to say such things. Anni minhu bari. I am totally disassociating from him. Don't want anything to do with Abu Hanifa. Okay? And that is why Khatib al-Baghdadi in his Tarikh Baghdad, he mentions this, that the scholars were unanimous, be it Shafi, be it Maliki, be it Sajistani, be it, Thawri, Sufyan al-Thawri, Ahlul Hadith, they were unanimous on the misguidance. كلهم اتفقوا على تضليل أبي حنيفة. They were all unanimous and agreed upon the misguidance of Abu Hanifa. This is an imam for a huge number of Muslims today. But he was considered misguided then? No, he was considered mushrik. As we'll go further, he was considered a disbeliever also. Okay? And that is why Dr. Jonathan Brown says that, because some people would think that, these riwayats about Abu Hanifa, and that's the way Ibn Jawzi has also portrayed. These are riwayats which are fabricated. Okay? Yes, fabricated by a group against another group, but this was a reality then. Okay, and that is why Dr. Jonathan Brown says that, like most of the Ahlul Hadith, Imam Muslim, okay, the author of Sahih Muslim, criticized Abu Hanifa and the adherents of Ashab al-Ra'i, but his comments were not as ferocious as Bukhari's comments. That means Bukhari was even more ferocious towards Abu Hanifa. Okay, this was what we are seeing in the Islamic history in the Sunni world. So it goes on further. Christopher Malkert again mentions in the same book on page 9, notice, traditionalist jurisprudence, that is Ahlul Hadith jurisprudence, found many additional reasons to repudiate Ashab al-Ra'i. Okay, so not issues only with regards to belief, but also with practice. So both ways he was condemned. In fiqh and in aqeedah, Abu Hanifa was condemned and criticized altogether. So he gives an example of a fiqh issue. You notice in fiqh we have the whole issue of hiyal. Okay, the hilas, we talk about loopholes if you read to Shia fiqh books and Sunni fiqh books, you will see this, that some of them look for healers and they look for these loopholes of how to run away from some of the rulings. One of the examples is interest, for example, in the world we are living in today. Okay, so at that time, Abu Hanifa and his students, so be it Abu Yusuf or Ash-Shaybani, both have been attributed this book to. They wrote a book called Kitabul Hiyal. Okay, so look at what Imam Ahmad now says. Imam Ahmad says that whoever uses a legal advice to escape an oath he has taken is a perjurer, is a liar. Okay, calling the followers of Abu Hanifa because they were using this path of Hiyal. And then he makes it clear even, whoever has Kitabul Hiyal in his home, and you're not even allowed to keep it in your home, and gives opinions on its basis, has covered up as an unbeliever to what God has sent down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, he becomes an unbeliever to what the Prophet has been, the message he was given. This is the level it went to. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. This is again Jonathan Brown in his another book, Hadith, Muhammad's Legacy. He says, notice, he says Sunni Islam began as a small and strictly conservative Ahlul Hadith sect in the 8th and 9th centuries. For those who say that the Sunnis were there at the time of the Prophet and straight after the Prophet, academicians will refuse that, okay? They will not accept that. Yes, they were proto-Sunnis, they were proto-Shias, but the Sunni sect and the Shia sect, did it emerge after the death of the Prophet? No. The academicians will not accept that, yeah? So, notice he says that the early Sunnis appeared in the 8th and 9th centuries. This is 2nd and 3rd Islamic Hijrah, yeah? It's 3rd and 2nd and 3rd century Islamic calendar. Now, what did these early Sunnis and so-called original Sunnis used to believe in? The isnad used to be the part of their religion. And that is why till date, the Sunnis are really strict on isnad. For them, the chain of narrators is something very important. Okay? They preached that anyone who impugns a report from the early community, that means the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, or denies anything from the hadith of the messenger, then doubt his Islam. Okay, the example, even great scholars like Abu Hanifa, who promoted independent legal reasoning, were heretics in the eyes of these original Sunnis. Is considered a kafir in the eyes of these original Sunnis. Today he's been followed by millions. What happened? Okay, this was the diversity, rather the disunity, if I can put it that way, which was there at that time. Rather, it doesn't stop there, and this is where I come and say that this is not me saying, rather the Quran saying, the enmity between the sects, baghyan bainahum. I'll keep on repeating this. A lot of our conflicts are because of these internal hatred we have for each other. It's because of the enmity and the personal enmity we have with each other. And it didn't stop with even scholars are infected with the same. Notice, he says that scholars who had personal vendettas, this is Jonathan Brown again saying it, scholars had personal vendettas against one another. We'll come when we talk about Shiism also, we'll see the same issues coming in. The example, Imam Malik's criticism of Ibn Ishaq. Ibn Ishaq, the author and the writer of Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The earliest Seerah we have is Ibn Ishaq, which is not there available today. We have it through Ibn Hisham. But Ibn Ishaq was the author of the Seerah of the Prophet. Malik calls him Dajjal. Look at the wordings being used. He calls him Dajjal. Okay? So, Jonathan Brown says Malik's criticism of Ibn Ishaq was the result of a well-documented personal feud and conflict between them. And we are suffering till date today. When you go study Ibn Ishaq, you are told he is discredited, he is credited, he's accepted, he's not accepted. All this because of personal issues which were going on at that time. Okay, let's go on. This is again Khatib al-Baghdadi. Khatib al-Baghdadi has given so many examples because these were issues happening in Baghdad. Yeah, so he has recorded in his Tarikh Baghdad, he has quoted all these references. Now, this is where I say the problem gets worse now. It now starts, you start attributing hadith to the Prophet now. And now fabrication starts in the name of the Prophet. You come to the Imams, we'll see for the Imams also. Okay? So, At-Tirmidhi, this is not the famous Tirmidhi, yeah? Tirmidhi says he was at the Prophet's grave and suddenly he slept and he sees a dream. In the dream, he asks the Prophet, look at where have we gone, okay? Where did it go to? He asks the Prophet, O Messenger, there has been a lot of fabrication going on in religion. What do you say about Abu Hanifa's opinion? Okay, this is in the 4th century. These problems, 4th, 5th century, these problems are still existing. Okay? So, what do you say about Abu Hanifa's opinion? The Prophet shook his head and rejected. That means total rejection of Abu Hanifa. He asked him, what do you say about Malik, Imam Malik's opinion? So the Prophet turned back and says that he's right at times, wrong at times. So he asked him, what about Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i? He says, Bi abi ibn ammi. May my father be sacrificed for the son of my cousin. Ahya sunnati. He revived the whole sunnah of mine. Now, who made up these riwayats? The Prophet talking about 2 centuries later about Shafi'i and condemning these others. Okay, it didn't stop there. Now, I'm quoting this from Al-Mawdu'at of Hashim al-Ma'ruf. Said Hashim al-Ma'ruf is a Shia scholar. So somebody might ask, why are you quoting from a Shia reference? These references, these narrations are found in Tarikh Baghdad of Khatib al-Baghdadi and other books also. I'm quoting because he has collected all this in one place and I'm interested in his statements. That's why I'm quoting this, okay? Otherwise, you can find these references in the Sunni books also. Now look at the danger. There it was a dream. Now it goes on. An Abi Huraira an Anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Now attribution, a direct attribution of hadith now. That Abu Huraira quotes from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, سيكون في أمتي رجل. There's going to be a person from my community whose name is Abu Hanifa. Now this tells you who is making up this riwayah, that there's praise for Abu Hanifa now. Okay, all these riwayats we saw was condemnation of Abu Hanifa. Now there's praise for Abu Hanifa. وَسِرَاجُ أُمَّتِي is the lamp of my nation. Allah, if you want to look at the light, look at Abu Hanifa. Then the Prophet goes on. سَيَكُونُ فِي أُمَّتِي رَجُلٌ. There's going to be a person from my nation. His name is Muhammad ibn Idris. That is a Shafi'i. Look at the statement now. This is attributed to the Prophet. هو أضر على أمتي من إبليس. I don't know. He is more harmful than Iblis, Shaitan, wallahi. Okay? Now, it doesn't stop there, okay? So Sayyid Hashim al-Ma'ruf says that Similarly, the followers of Malik and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal also fabricated dozens of hadiths to support the schools while discrediting others. This is another hadith in favor of Imam Malik. The Prophet said, can you see this? And these are hadith, some of them are considered mawdu' and fabricated. Some of them have accepted these ahadith. People will travel on the backs of their camels seeking knowledge. So they will go and travel as much far to seek knowledge. They'll not find anybody more knowledgeable than the scholar of Medina that is referring to Malik. Wallahi, there were no more knowledgeable people than Imam Malik in Medina. This is where it reached to. Okay? Now, the followers of Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi'i, wallahi, look at the statements. It's as if now God is saying this. أولئك الذين آتيناهم الكتاب والحكم والنبوة. Okay? I don't know. We gave them the book, wisdom, hikmah, and nubuwah, prophethood. Yani, what did we leave for them, yani, you know? And that is why I say that this ghulu, which is being attributed to only Shias not only do ghulu. There's a lot of ghulu being done everywhere. In every sect, there's ghulu. Okay? The only difference which happened is that within the Shias, this group broke down and they ended up forming another group, which was a separate group with its own system, with its own financial system and all that. And that is why maybe it's become famous. Otherwise, ghulu is prevalent everywhere, everywhere. You can't say ghulu is only prevalent within one sect, okay? So look at this, another ghulu which happens. This is the Hanbalis now going on to that extreme. They say that, this is Ibn Jawzi narrating, from Ali ibn Ismail, he says that on the day of judgment, people were passing the bridge, yeah, the Sirat. When they were passing the bridge, the Sirat, they were holding a paper with them. So in the paper, they had to have a signature. If they had the signature, then only they go to paradise and Jannah. So they say that we saw a person stamping this paper. And if that stamp was not there, that means this person couldn't cross the bridge and go to the paradise. And that person was not the Prophet, huh? Ahmad bin Hanbal. The Hanbalis now are now praising their Imam now. Okay? This is what's going on in history. Okay? Now, I'll come to the treatment of Bukhari. Wallahi, I keep on prolonging my lectures. I'll stop here. Anybody who doubts and says that this is these riwayats are fabrication and all whatnot, a person just needs to refer to the books written. So I'm quoting this from, this is a book written by Sheikh Rasul Ja'fariyan on the different sects. Okay? It's a beautiful book where he discusses the different history and the evolution within the different sects. So on page number 336, he quotes the number of refutations which were written against those people who criticized Abu Hanifa. So anybody who now claims that, oh, these are fabricated narrations, look at in every century how many books were being written, gives you a picture that this was a serious issue which was going on in that period. So he says, in the 4th century, the first book, Al-Ibana, في الرد على المشنعين على أبي حنيفة. Okay? Al-Ibana meaning a clarification in refuting the slanders of Abu Hanifa. Okay, those who slandered against Abu Hanifa, now a clarification is being given. In the 7th century, الفوائد المنيفة في الذب على في الذب عن أبي حنيفة. Okay, the noble benefits of defending Abi Hanifa. This is the 7th century. The 8th century, مقدمة في الرد على رد الحنفية. Okay, a dispute on those people who dispute the Hanafiya sect. No, in the 9th century, and this is where I keep on saying that these were issues which continued until. So Sheikh Rasul Ja'fariyan says these conflicts continued until the 6th, 7th century. They kept on continuing till they said, "Bas now, it's enough." Okay, so this is a book written in the 9th century. Okay, الرد على الإمام الغزالي who was a Shafi'i بما تكلم بحق إمامنا أبي حنيفة. It means Al-Ghazali also spoke against Abi Hanifa. Now a refutation is written against him. Ghazali was in 5th, 4th, 5th century. Yeah. Then in the 11th century, the famous Mullah Ali Qari, for those of you following on the Hindi Pakistani channels, they really quote him as a reference point in Rijal. He wrote رسالة في الرد من ذم مذهب أبي حنيفة. Notice, till 11th century still going on. Shows you how much these people took it seriously, as much as we want to dismiss it and say these are fabrications. And then in recent 1933, a book was published in Cairo, السهم المصيب. Look at the title also, والله. السهم المصيب في كبد الخطيب. والله, I don't know how do you say it. A piercing arrow, the arrow which reached its destination في كبد الخطيب, in the liver of Khatib al-Baghdadi. We quoted Khatib al-Baghdadi, yeah? Khatib al-Baghdadi is the one who has narrated these narrations against Abu Hanifa, if it's against him or he just narrated them. So they're now writing Sahmul Musib. Okay? So this is just a portion, and I'm giving a snapshot. There's a lot of it can be given. Next week, inshallah, we continue with the same conflicts within Sunnism, keeping in mind the time we are spending. And then, inshallah, we go to the conflicts within Shiism. We pray to Allah that all this should be enough to guide us, to take us to an understanding that it's enough now. We have fought enough. Enough damage has been done. I remember, sorry, again, as a final conclusion, I was listening to Dr. Muhammad Tahir, the famous British Iraqi doctor who went to Gaza. He stayed in Gaza for 7 months, and that's what makes him different from the other doctors and medical personnel who are sacrificing their lives in that part of the world. May Allah bless them for what they're doing. When he comes back, he was interviewed by, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Miriam Francois. She interviews Dr. Tahir. So he mentions throughout the lecture, it was hazeen, yani wallahi, it was sad to listen to what he was talking about. But in the conclusion, in the end, Dr. Miriam asks him that, who do you blame for all this? And notice, a quick answer would be the Zionists and Americans and the Western allies and all whatnot. He quickly takes the issue back to the Arab world. He says, is it not enough? We have not fought enough to be able to. Is Gaza not enough to awaken us? That it's enough, we have fought enough. The solution is not going to come from outside. Let's not wait for the Americans and the Zionists and the Westerners to come and give us solutions. Solutions need to come from within. And that's exactly my message for these issues. Is Gaza not enough? Okay, if these issues are not enough to wake us up, is Gaza not enough for us to wake up and say we've fought enough? Okay, now it's time to focus in within so that we develop and take this Muslim Ummah further, inshallah. We pray to Allah Allah gives us the tawfiq to be able to follow His guidelines, His message, especially the message of unity. And Allah make us get into the month of Ramadan, where He accepts us as His guests, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.